This is an example of a contract of employment. I'm going to share a link with you guys to have a look at what it basically looks like. Just keep in mind that this is just a template, right? When you are employed as an HR manager, you will be tasked with the responsibility of drafting something similar to this, a contract of employment or contract of service, right? What exactly is a contract of employment and what purpose does it serve? Right. Well, stick around because on today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the contract of employment and also some of the elements that you find within the contract of employment. So do stick around. What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to another video. Doc over here. Let's get right to it. So what exactly is a contract of employment? Like, a lot of people can easily overlook what a contract of employment does, right? Now, before we discuss these elements, I want to set the record straight, right? With contract of employments, they differ, right? They are very specific to a very specific agreement, right? For an example, if I hire you as an HR officer, you are going to have a very specific contract of employment compared to someone who will be hired as a security officer or as a safety officer or whatever the case may be, right? Just as long as you have different responsibilities to the next person, your contracts will be different. Understand? However, the way that it is composed, it will be more or less the same, just because the contract is coming from the same company, right? So if you have TVET Tutorials as a company which is dishing out contracts, all the contracts of the employees will be somewhat the same because some of the terms and conditions on the contract will have to be the same. However, certain things will have to be different, things like your remuneration, your working hours, so on and so forth. And those are the elements that I was talking about. So now, to answer the question, exactly what is a contract? A contract of employment is a legally binding agreement between an employer and an employee that outlines the terms and conditions of the employment relationship, right? That one is straightforward. It doesn't really need much explanation, because that is exactly what a contract is. You have this piece of paper that sets the rules and guidelines of how both parties are expected to behave, meaning the employer and the employee, right? So you have all these guidelines, these rules noted down on a document so that everyone has to live up to them. Whoever breaches those terms, then we have what we call a breach of contract, right? But that's a topic for another day. Today, I just want us to look at the elements, right? Now, as I mentioned, a contract can consist of a lot of elements, right? I don't think one can actually sit down and say these are the elements that you find in a contract or elements you'll find in a contract every time. You understand? There's always going to be some differences here and there. It is all based on what the company expects from you as an employee and also what the company is willing to offer to you as an employee, right? Now, I want us to look at the first element. The first element is called remuneration. Now, these elements that I'm touching on, just another disclaimer, these elements that I'm going to be touching on, these are elements that you would actually find in almost every contract, because these are sort of like the basics of agreements. You understand? If you are hiring someone, you need to let them know how much they are going to earn, when are they getting paid, how are they getting paid. You need to know how are they going to work, what are their working arrangements, stuff like that, things like that. You understand? So the ones that I'm going to be touching on are the ones that you would typically find on any contract, right? So as I said, I am going to share the link to the contract that I shared earlier on so that you guys can have a sort of like a look at it. And see if maybe challenge yourself, see if maybe you cannot identify where is this element on that contract, where is this element on that contract. You understand? So first, let's start with remuneration. I already talked about remuneration, and remuneration basically is another word of saying I am paying you as an employee, right? So that is like the HR term for paying you. If you are my employee and I'm paying you, that whole process is called remuneration, right? It's just an HR term, right? So this element addresses the employee's compensation for their work, right? It includes details such as the salary or wage rate, payment frequency, and any additional benefits or bonuses the employee is entitled to receive, right? Basically, exactly that. So if anything, if TVET Tutorials as a company is going to pay its employees, then there needs to be an agreement amongst between TVET Tutorials and the employees to say that, okay, Doc, you're an employee at TVET Tutorials. This is how much TVET Tutorials is going to pay you. This is when you are going to be paid. This is how you are going to be paid. And maybe these are the benefits that you will also be getting. Maybe you'll be getting car allowance. You'll be getting petrol allowance. You'll be getting housing allowance. You'll be getting medical cover. There's a lot, right? There's a lot. However, remuneration covers such things. So you can go to the contract once you've downloaded it, and then sort of like go through it. There is a clause on the contract that stipulates how much you are going to pay, when are you, how much you're going to be paid, when are you going to be paid, so on and so forth, right? And then the next element is supervision and control, right? Now, obviously, I hope we all understand that when we hire people to come and work for an organization, there's something called reporting structure, right? So a reporting structure is basically, it is literally the organizational's chart. I think it's called an organogram, right? If you're not familiar with it, I will share the link of one of those videos where I was discussing an organogram. Basically, it is that, right? A reporting structure is that. And this part on the contract sort of like discusses that. This element outlines the level of supervision and control the employer has over the employee's work. It clarifies the reporting structure, lines of authority, and the extent to which the employer can direct and oversee the employee's tasks and performance, right? So when you bring someone into a working environment, there needs to be someone who sort of like supervises that person, right? Whether that person is a supervisor or a manager or a coordinator, however, there's always going to be someone who is overseeing employees, you understand? And that is what is discussed under supervision and control. Again, if you head on over to that contract, try to see if you won't be able to pick up where this element is actually discussed on the contract, right? So this element will basically give a clarification on exactly who you will be reporting to as someone who's receiving the contract, or whoever is gonna sign the contract, or the employee, right? And then the next element is duration of employment, right? This element specifies the duration of the employment relationship. It may indicate whether the employment is permanent, fixed term, or probationary. The contract will include the start date and, if applicable, the end date or conditions for termination, right? So the duration of employment, this one is very important. As I said, these are the elements that need to be there in a contract. These are elements that you would find in almost each and every contract. It doesn't matter the company. They might be discussed differently. However, the concept of this element is there in the contract. You understand? So when we speak about duration of employment, we're talking about how long you will be working for the company. If, say, for example, I give you this contract that I shared with you guys today to sign, it will have a date to say that on this day, you are expected to commence duty. And if it has an end date, it will also say that you are expected to start from today until this day. That is the period of your contract. That is how long you will be working with us. You understand? And then another one is time. Another element is time, right? This element refers to the working hours and schedule of the employee. It outlines the specific time frames during which the employee is expected to be present and available for work, right? Another one, this one doesn't need any explanation. It's basically that. So in HR, we have something called time management, right? So basically what happens in time management is that you take whatever hours the employees work and then you use those to remunerate, you understand, to compensate or to pay them, you understand? So this part of the contract sort of like explains what are the working hours the employees expected to work, what time are they expected to be at work, what time are they expected to knock off, are they supposed to work on holidays? These are basically working arrangements as far as the number of hours they work, you understand? And all of these things, drafting a contract using all these elements. As an HR manager, you won't just be sitting down and just type, okay, I'm done with the contract, take it out. No, there's a lot that goes behind actually drafting a contract, because you need to be very, very, very careful, because remember, this is a legally binding document. You understand? When something is legally binding, it simply means that whatever happens, if we have a contract, if me, myself, as TVET Tutorials, and I'm calling you to come and work at TVET Tutorials, I give you a contract. Whatever I stipulated in the contract, I need to make sure that I meet the agreement. You understand? If something funny happens and I fail to meet some of the agreements that I stipulated in the contract, then, as I explained earlier on, that is called a breach of contract, and you have every legal right to take action against me. You understand? As I said, there's a lot that goes into drafting a contract. However, these are the elements that you would typically find in a contract. You understand? Just bear in mind, there's a lot of them. There is a lot. For an example, if maybe I am hiring you to be a manager, I would then have to use an element that is called NDA, or non-disclosure agreement, right? Basically, what would that mean is that I will be held accountable for the information that I am exposed to, and I am not in any right to share it with anyone unless that those people are authorized to have access to that information. I hope it makes sense. It's just an example, right? It's just an example, just to show you guys that these are not the only elements that you would find in a contract. There's a lot. You understand? Just go through that that contract, each and every point. That is an element, and it defines the working agreement, or the working arrangement between the employer and the employee. You understand? Well, that is that for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do stay tuned, because I still have tons and tons and tons of videos coming up for you guys. If you're watching this video and you still haven't subscribed, come on, Bafetu, come on. But I like what I'm seeing, because we're currently now sitting at, I think it's 2.5, 2.6. We're growing. I really, really like that. You understand? So if you are watching this video and you still haven't subscribed, come on now. Click on that subscribe button, click on that bell icon, so that you get instant notifications for every time we drop new content. You do not want to miss out. All the links to our socials will be right here. They are actually up here. They're actually up here. Click on them. Click on each. Well, you can't actually click on them, but do check out our socials. Follow us, share our content, do whatever. You understand? Do whatever, but engage with us, communicate with us, talk to us. If you want me or any of the tutors at TVET Tutorials to cover a specific video, let us know. We will make sure that we make it happen. As I always say for myself, Bafetu, and my team at TVET Tutorials, adios.